The term queer theory was coined by Teresa de Lauretis in her 1991 work published in the Feminist Cultural Studies journal Differences, titled Queer Theory, Lesbian and Gay Sexualities. De Lauretis outlined three intertwined objectives within this theory: challenging heterosexuality as the standard for sexual formations, contesting the notion that lesbian and gay studies form a singular entity, and emphasizing how race influences sexual biases. She proposed that queer theory encompass all these critiques, offering a fresh perspective on sexuality. A central concept in queer theory is heteronormativity, which refers to the societal institutions, frameworks of understanding, and practical orientations that not only organize heterosexuality as a sexual orientation, but also privilege it. This worldview promotes heterosexuality as the norm or preferred orientation, and is reinforced through institutions like marriage, taxation, employment, and adoption rights, among others. Heteronormativity represents a form of control and power that affects both straight and gay individuals through established social norms and institutional arrangements. Key figures in the development of queer theory include Foucault, Gail, Rubin, Eve Kosofsky Sedgwick, and Judith Butler. Foucault's work on sexuality posited it as a discursive construct, rather than an inherent aspect of human nature. This stems from his broader notion that power is not merely repressive, but also productive and generative. He contends that sexuality is not easily definable, and instead focuses on its expansive production within systems of power and knowledge. Gail Rubin's influential essay Thinking Sex further advances Foucault's rejection of biological explanations of sexuality by examining how sexual identities and behaviors are hierarchically structured through systems of sexual classification. She demonstrates how certain sexual expressions are assigned greater value, consequently oppressing those who fall outside these parameters. Rubin also counters the feminist belief that gender determines sexuality, emphasizing that they are distinct. Rubin's groundwork in distinguishing between gender and sexuality paved the way for Eve Kosofsky Sedgwick's groundbreaking book, Epistemology of the Closet. Sedgwick argues that the homo-hetero divide in contemporary sexual definitions is fundamentally disjointed due to two reasons: the perception of homosexuality as a minority category, and the gendering of homosexuality as either masculine or feminine. She highlights that definitions of sexuality heavily depend on the gender of one's romantic partner, assuming that one's own gender and the gender of their partner are the most crucial elements of sexuality. Judith Butler, most prominently associated with examining prevailing understandings of gender and sex, builds upon Foucault's ideas with a focus on gender. In her book Gender Trouble, she asserts that gender, like sexuality, is not an intrinsic truth derived from one's body, but a performance. She argues that the rigid belief in a truth of sex leads to heterosexuality being seen as the only valid outcome, due to the binary construction of feminine and masculine. Butler contends that gender performativity can be a form of resistance, citing examples like drag, cross-dressing, and non-realistic depictions of butch and femme identities that challenge established gender norms. Her work challenges the construction of gender, contesting the rigidity of hierarchical binaries, and contributing immensely to queer theory. Queer theory, when applied, has the potential to disrupt the foundational structure upon which any identity is built. However, it does not entirely eradicate or abandon identity categories. Contrary to the perception that queer theory solely revolves around questions of sexuality, an intersectional approach has emerged, positing that sexuality is intertwined with other aspects of social status and identity. This interdisciplinary approach enables queer theory to generate fresh perspectives on how sexuality influences and is influenced by various factors.